were two goals primarily of this. The first goal was so that if folks wanted to know how a piece of functionality was being addressed, which RFP it landed in. That's pretty dry, and we'll go through that really quick, is my hope. Then the second part is what really is Medicaid, not down in the weeds level, but building upon what Paul already talked about. And please feel free to ask questions. Let's just play it by ear, okay? So we're talking about the next steps. You see it says February 2018. We did have a goal of getting this done a month ago, but things happen. So let's jump right in. It's really about how are we putting the pieces together. How do these RFPs fit together to give us the full functionality of an MMIS? It doesn't matter how, you can keep going. It doesn't matter how great a claims system I have if I can't get providers enrolled. It doesn't matter how great of infrastructure I have if all the pieces can't fit on top of it. So this is really about putting the pieces together. As you know, the system integrator is the first RFP that we put out, and as I understand it, this close.
It could very well be signed, but in Skip's desk drawer, so no one can get it.
As Maxwell Smart used to say, I missed it by this much, yeah. Right? System integrator. And you guys know that way better than I do, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. Keep clicking. Really, it's really about, our goal for this whole project is to improve outcomes for our customers, our clients. The system integrator, data services, for that matter, all the modules will work together to get us to that goal, keep clicking, of improving the outcomes. And not just for customers, but for the state as well, right? We want to make life easier for the folks that have to work in this system. Data services. Data services is really about business. Quality assurance is about making sure we are doing the right things. It is about auditing. It is about recovering from other carriers who should be paying first. Keep clicking. Benefit management services, as Sean mentioned, we are sending it off to CMS. Benefit management services is really about how do we get things done? How do we get the provider enrolled? How do we get the members' information shared? How do we build the plans to make sure that they are getting the benefits that they're supposed to? Financial services, it's all about the money, right? Financial services is about actually paying the claims, being able to track what bucket of money this comes out of, what account code gets assigned. Okay. Unified public interface, some of y'all know that takes two pieces. There's the customer support center, customer call center, customer service center, and then there's the portal. Those two things are not my field of expertise for this project, so we'll touch on it briefly at the end, but if you want more on that, that'll be another presentation. Again, this is really about the SI is about the core technology. These things that are mentioned here are where you should go in the SI RFP if you want to see more detail on that. Okay? And I understand maybe a potential SI vendor, the apparently successful bidder, may be on the phone. So those folks, you technical folks, you know way more about that than I do. Okay? But my real goal was for if you don't want to know about address standardization, what section of the RFP is that in? This is supposedly a tool, reference tool for the future. Okay. So a system integrator also has a bunch of responsibility for project management. The reason we pulled this information out for you, and for those on the phone, I'm pointing to it now, is so that in each RFP, there is mention of like risk management. There is mention of security management. There is mention of reporting. Ultimately, the SI is the coordinator of that. So I wanted you to be clear that the SI's work is twofold. They have to do reporting for what they're doing, but they're also the, what do we call them, the traffic cop, the one that's going to make sure that everybody else is doing their part as well. Them and the state, right? And the state's not totally handling this off, but there is a difference between what you will see in other RFPs and what the SI has responsibility for. Okay? This is a lovely video, and thanks to Dwayne for making sure it says benefit management services. This was done a long time ago. It's a little blurry, but what you need to know is in the procurement library, it is addendum 17. Come on, show me something good. Anyway, and it talks about sort of what is the level. So feeding on the previous slide where we talked about the SI is going to take on those, there you go, we're back, oops, we're gone. Take on those roles of making sure that all the subcontractors, all the vendors are doing their risk management. This slide then talks more about how that all fits together, what the state's level is, what the SI's level is, and how that interacts.
Okay, I'm going to one second. I'm sure.
Go to the top one. There you go. Okay, so again, the important thing of this is, as part of this presentation, I want folks to know what resources are available to them, what documents have been already created. People are running 100 miles an hour to get this done and don't necessarily know what other folks have done. So again, just for reference, okay? Turn the page. You remember that from when well, some of us were kids back then. The little storybooks where you said, bing, and you turn the page and read the next one. So, again, just when you thought you were done with SI, the real goal here is to assist the state with the tactical program management. The SI folks have come from other projects, they have experience, and we're looking to them to help with that, and also to work with the business process reengineering. All of that stuff comes together and falls in the SI's lap. Okay? And I shouldn't be telling you guys anything you haven't already heard, right? Is this new to anybody?
No.
Good. Okay, but wait, there's more.
It should not be.
Develop the master system integration plan, integrated test plans. Again, this presentation will be sent out, and it's for you to have a resource to know where these things live. Okay? You want to know about system migration? I point you to Dwayne and to the documents. And he ducks his head quickly. Okay. Like I said, I want to hurry through this first stuff. Oh, you thought you were done? Last but not least, there is so much that the SI is responsible for. Performance monitoring, phase gate reviews, CMS certification. We need to start this project with the idea of certification in mind at the end, and we have. Not every other project has been done that way. In the past, it was always you build, you build, you build, you deliver, you implement. CMS comes out and goes, no, right? So we are keeping CMS involved and should be better in the long run. Kudos to Jennifer and Jennifer and Jennifer because they have been keeping us on track with certification. Okay? How does it all fit together? This is also in Addendum 17. I believe Marty put this one together. These are not my diagrams, but it really is to give you an idea of how the UPI sits so that you have access from the outside, what the integration platform does, how it moves stuff around, how each of the BPOs fit in, how the legacy systems fit in. It's really very complex, and it's going to have to fit together like a nice puzzle. We basically have a puzzle where we don't know the pieces yet. Okay? You'll see at the bottom there's 55 slides, so this is why we're trying to get through stuff.
For today.
What? For today, yes, 55 today. Just kidding. So I do, at the end of each section, I do want to call out some things that are significant, though. Single sign-on. Single sign-on is a godsend to anyone who has ever had to remember 5 different passwords, right? So this is something that our SI contractors bring and greatly appreciated. Enterprise Service Bus. The idea that there's one place who basically owns all of the interfaces, who owns all the communication, moving stuff around.
Yeah,
So,
you maybe have a little bit of time. Just
maybe. No, nobody's guaranteed the next breath, right? But the SI has ownership of that, and that will bring a lot of flexibility to the state. Shared services. There is no reason to do the same thing multiple different ways. Address validation. We did this in Utah, we did it in Washington, and it worked very well. Master data indices. Again, Dwayne, Marty, all y'all technical folks, but from a business standpoint, as a user, what I care about is if I try to add a new provider, and that provider already exists in the system, somebody says, whoa, this could be Sherry Poindexter. This Sherry Lynn, they have similar birthday, they have the last name four of their social. This could be the same person. One of the things that you will find in legacy MMIS systems is, based upon the limitations of the system, if I was a provider and I had 5 different provider types that I could use, most states only had availability to add 3 or 4. So that provider had to be enrolled multiple times in order to have all the provider types that they could perform services under. So master data indices will be very helpful. Also, from a member or a client, beneficiary, recipient, whatever we call these people that we're serving, many of them get services through multiple different programs. And every program pretty much had their own ID number. So when you start merging all that data in to try and get a whole picture of me, to know that I live here, I get these services, I also have been in jail, whatever it is, right? All that information needs to be in one location, and it needs to be merged. So the hierarchy for how to merge that falls to this project, but also there will be a hierarchy about how to pay for services. When we get down to claims down the road, Medicaid might pay for it, but so might the HCBS waiver, and so might pilot programs. So that we'll need to establish a hierarchy so that the state gets the best funding for that particular payment that's covered by multiple things. In order to do that, you have to know that's the same person. Workflow. I don't know how many people in this room know it, but sometimes states still carry paper around. Sometimes people still email things to get things done. Workflow will be beneficial in that you can set it up and let it do its thing. If it's me, I have to remember that I have to be here at 8:30 to do a presentation, so go to the right office, which, by the way, I didn't. So workflow would have got me in the car and taken me to the right place. Okay. There it is. Data services. Okay, SI was easy, right? Piece of cake. Data services. As I understand it, things are well underway for data services as well, with an apparently successful bidder. But data services is business intelligence. It will have the data necessary to make good decisions, right? A lot of people that work in the industry, and not just in Medicaid, but doing whatever work, know that there are things that are true, but they can't prove it without the data. Data services business intelligence helps you to prove that that's true. It also helps people in higher places make decisions about what to do, what not to do. CMS frequently comes out with new pilot projects, health homes, Affordable Care Act, right? They come out with new things, and states need to make a decision about whether to do that, how much to do of that, what's optional, what's mandatory. Business intelligence, having the data to look at, gives you that information. And we all know that this is a federally funded and state-funded project, and Medicaid is federally and state-funded. So it is imperative that we be able to report the right information to continue to do business. So, data services brings us new and exciting, oh, come on, you guys. I know it's Monday morning, but exciting, say yes. Thank you. Exciting
You got it,
tools
Jack Dwayne.
for
It's
reporting.
data.
Thank you. And another goal is to help the state to learn how to use these tools, so that not only will they have the mandatory state and federal reports, but like I said, I wonder about, and so with those tools available, people can ask those questions, get those answers. Enterprise data warehouse, single source of information. As I said, we have multiple different programs, different administrations, different divisions, different bureaus, and that's not unique to New Mexico, but a lot of information is available. If I log into my phone to go to the bank to do something, I want them to know that that's me, right? Enterprise data warehouse should, as soon as if I'm a member and I apply and I'm approved and I'm getting Medicaid, I shouldn't have to enter my address on these 6 other potential programs that I want to apply for. You already know it. Why do I have to keep telling you? Enterprise data warehouse helps with that. Integration with other modules, again, this is for reporting purposes. And as I said before, these slides are intended to show you where to go look. And this is the first step, right? The way a project works is, the first is the idea, brainchild, then the RFP, next comes the response, next comes the contract, next comes what we're calling configuration, what we used to call DDI, then the implementation. Each step along the way, you need to know that some of these requirements may have been revised. So we're implementing a tool for requirements management tracking. But this was the first step. This is where this started. And the vendors should respond to each section of the SOW as well as each requirement. So if I say I want A, and they come back and say I'll give you B, and the state says, I can live with that, then B is the new requirement, regardless of what the RFP originally said. Okay? Thank you. Oh, and subject matter experts. All of the modules, we are asking for people to help us understand this. The vendors, the contractors, the ones that have these products, they know them better than anybody. Hopefully. No, they do. And so we look to them to help us to know what we can do with these tools, how we can make them better. Who creates the reports and where? We have gone round and round and round and round on reports, because many of the modules will have their own reporting functionality. TPL, third-party liability. They know how much they've recovered, primarily because that's how they get paid, is a percentage of what they recover. So if we need a report on how much you've recovered and you already have one, we're not asking data services to reinvent the wheel. But if I need a report that goes across multiple areas, then it falls to data services. Even if claims had all the information I needed, but they don't have an out-of-the-box report, we're not going to ask the claims vendor to create a new report, data services. But if you got something out of the box that I might want, don't hide it from me, give it to me. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. More modules intended to host them. Okay. I think I've covered all of that. Yes, Mark.
Can I ask, in terms of business intelligence, how does Medicaid handle that now in terms of understanding the status population?
So the question is, how does Medicaid understand business intelligence now? And the answer, at least in my experience, I can't talk entirely for New Mexico, but the answer in my experience has been not very well, right? And that is not because people don't want to. It is not because they're not doing their best. They just haven't had the tools. So the goal of this is to bring some tools so that they can do those things. Everybody has the reports that they have to complete. And the problem, at least in my mind, and again, this is all my mind, scary as it may be, The problem is that people have to do so many twists and turns to create this mandated report that they don't really have time to think about, well, what does this all mean? One of the goals of this project is to bring the technology so I don't have to pull 8 Excel spreadsheets and merge stuff and calculate and then hand it off to somebody else who validates it. It is to make all of that routine, mundane stuff happen, so now I can go, what does that really mean? How are we as a state doing? How are we doing compared to other people? One of the things of DS is to look at other reports that are available from CMS and from the state and tell us how we're doing. Does that answer the question?
Largely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Not an attempt to replicate. If you've already got it, bring it. This, again, not my diagram. Thank you, Dwayne, for, I don't know if he knows he donated it, but he did. And this is really the vision of how things come in, where they live, how are they grouped together to report, how do we use business intelligence, and where does that all live? Not my field of expertise. From a business standpoint, what I care about is if I ask you this question, you the system or you the person who does reports, you can give me an answer. That's what I care about. How you do the magic behind, how you group things and data marts and data lakes and data whatever, I don't care. I care that I get the right answer that I need in a timely fashion. And that's what building tubes and lakes and all that does as far as I understand. Okay?
Wayne, can I assume this slide is a little bit old, like it's before we started talking? It's still applicable. There's like technology and there's exactly that. Let's see, those will come by. Let's not talk about it, I just want to find out.
XML flat file extracts.
Yeah.
See how the words came out of his mouth, but it made my finger work? That is exactly the way this project should work, right? That all of those modules will come together like his words and my fingertips did.
Okay.
Yay! Okay. Reporting, as I said before, all federal and state reports. We've also asked for some management reports. Addendum 13. Like I said, I am trying to point you to where things live that we have already put out there that are expectations. Provide the tools and expertise necessary for the public-facing reports. Management is not only going to want to know how the MMIS is doing, they're going to want to know how this project's doing. So we need to be able to have a way to do that. Self-service reporting. Again, teach me how to use the tool so that I, the state, can get the information that I need. And it may not be me, Sherry, that needs to know how to do that, but there are people that totally get reports that totally would love to learn how to use the new tools. Standard queries. In one of the things we've asked for is like what parameterized reports, right? So give me a screen where I can put in a date span, I can put in a provider ID, or I can put in a last name or whatever, and it gives me back what I need. I don't need to know how to write a SQL query. I need you to give me a little front window so I can put in some stuff the way I understand it, and it pulls what I need. Okay? Part of the CMS 64 report. For those of you who have not had the supreme pleasure of working with the CMS 64 report, this is the mother of all reports in my mind. It is huge, and it's broken out across programs. It's broken out across account code types, various funding streams, and it goes on and on and on. So I just wanted to give you a little fear factor. Any of you that have watched any of those shows about eating worms or whatever, this is worse than eating worms. Okay.
How about unless you know exactly what the next part is, you break here and answer questions?
I would say let's do the next couple because they're slides of how you enter the CMS 64.
Okay.
So Medicaid budget management expenditure system. Like I said, the first row, inpatient hospital. FMAP, IHS, Indian Health Services, family planning. So it's not just about giving a total. You have to say how you got to all of those things. And this is as elaborate and detailed as it gets. It is huge. And it will come from every piece of the system. So like the TPO recovery, there's a whole section on that. Claims, there's a whole section on that. Encounters, there's sections on everything. So everything you, imagine if at 8 a.m. you came to work and at 5 p.m. you had to report every minute of your day. That's about how detailed the CMS just before it. I'm lucky to remember the 3 things I did, let alone the 15 emails I sent. Okay? Time to break?
So that report, is that like a template you can go check out, or is that something that we generate?
So the way it's done now is the report is, pieces of the report are put together, then they get combined into this thing that then gets entered. Ultimately, in my beautiful, perfect rose-colored glasses world, we will utilize the system so that if I say this claim got paid, the account code on it is for Indian Health Services, that we will code that such that when we go to generate the CMS 64, it already knows to put that in. In Utah, we actually did that. The lines on the report, we mapped to the account code segments. We had the regular account code, and then we added, I want to say like 15 more characters because we could go to 51, so that it was an automated process. Does that help answer the question?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So how far along is it right now?
In Utah?
No, for us?
For us?
None? Nothing?
All of the folks that have to contribute to the report know what they have to contribute, and they pull their pieces together. But in terms of automating that whole process, that's future world.
Yeah, right now it gets entered in the MMIS by individual.
Yeah. After they pulled stuff together from multiple different people.
Yeah, there's multiple meetings to audit that data that's going to be going in and reported, and based on that, that's what gets entered into the system.
Okay, thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you very much for doing this.
And I'll try and go really fast through the boring stuff.
Sherry, can I just offer, we got about 2 more minutes. If there's folks on the phone who have a burning question, we should probably ask 5 minutes earlier tomorrow for questions.
Okay.
Any questions on the phone? Probably a billion, but.
No, I'm good.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, well, we'll
Thanks,
pick this up
Jerry.
on part 2 at 8:30.
Thank you.
Mountain time. See you then.
Be there, be
Take
square.
care, everybody.
Bye.
Yes.